They've left it late again, but they're through.
They're through. They didn't play great today. I think Izzy summed it up perfectly. They were not at their best. Even some of the players that came in, you're thinking, go on, make a real impact today. It didn't quite happen. But the manager will be delighted. You know, they've got more minutes under Alexander Isak. And I think the one player that will come out of this, for me, with the would have probably got the most out of it would have been Federico Chiesa.
Yeah.
I thought he was fabulous today. You know, energy, desire. It hasn't gone well from it since he's been there. He's had a few moments, and definitely lately you've seen a real sign that he's started to go back to the player that we all knew that he possibly could be with injuries, etc. But I felt today he was just what they needed, because without him they would have been in a bit of a hole, because it definitely got the penalties. The 2 assists were exceptional. Do
you think for the majority of the others, nobody really laid down a marker? Those who are on the verge of maybe a starting 11 of going, I need to be picked, I need to start.
Yeah, it was interesting because I thought that Jamie mentioned before the game about Curtis Jones. He's a player I fondly admire as well. I think he's absolutely outstanding. I was, to see him coming off the pitch during the second half, I was quite confused about that in terms of good opportunity for him to get substantial minutes under the belt. But he knows where he stands in that Liverpool team. He knows he'll probably have more minutes to come. But I think Andy Robertson as well looked pretty solid. He was consistent. But I totally agree regarding Chiesa. I thought those 2 moments of quality, he looked the sharpest. He took the game by the scruff of the neck at times. And he's exactly what Liverpool needed. Yeah, I
mean, one of those players who isn't going to have to say, I want to be picked, is Alexander Isak. He will be one of the first names on the team sheet. And you mentioned
definitely now that
definitely now
the weekend.
And you mentioned Chiesa's 2 assists. This was the first.
Yeah, he's so alive here. Obviously, Southampton get caught. They're playing out from the back. McCarthy gives it to his left centre-back, and he doesn't really want it in that position. But Chiesa's so bright, because not just the first touch, it's then how quickly he's already assessed that Isak is on his own, because he knows the 2 centre-backs have obviously been drawn 20, 30 yards away from himself. So as soon as that ball gets played to him, Isak is free. If I can get my touch away and then whip it into him, and it's a really good finish as well. Really good centre-forward play, but great energy from Chiesa.
Got the minutes in the first half, got his goal, and then as we saw them at the break, they got the extra minutes in for him in the...
Yeah, the top-ups. We're not sure how long he was doing them for, but he clearly needed to hit a few extra markers. The physical performance staff, I mean, I think their reputation so far this season for keeping players fit is outstanding. You know, the squad availability that Arne Slot's got is very visible, and clearly just topping up a little bit. Would you like that, James?
No.
If I'd have scored a goal and then you're getting 40, you knew he was getting 45 minutes. That would have been pre-assumed. They've done everything they can, and right now it's just about managing him, getting him back, because he obviously missed a lot of pre-season because of what was happening at Newcastle, and it's always difficult to train on your own. So the sharpness is coming gradually, and they're going to need him the weekend. I'm sure he'll start against Crystal Palace, obviously, because of what's happened tonight.
Yeah, and we'll look at the Ekitike red card in a little while. But let's hear from Alexander Isak. He's alongside Andy Robertson with Juliette Ferrington.
Andrew, Alex, congratulations. First of all, Andy leaving it late again. It's another late show by Liverpool.
Yeah, but like I said, against Atletico, we can't keep relying on it. You know what I mean? I don't think we were anywhere near the standards tonight. I don't think we were great. I think especially first half you could see that a few of the lads hadn't played in a while. We were a little bit rusty on the ball, but the press wasn't good enough, not intense enough. So tried to fix that second half. I think we got maybe slightly better, but not by much. And then when it's 1-0, you just kind of invite pressure, and they got a sloppy goal from our point. And then, it was just us trying to get them back in it. And luckily we could do that. But, far from the standards today.
Alex was all right, though, wasn't he?
Yeah, look, delighted for him. Delighted to have him in the door. But then it's all about, strikers getting their first goal. Everyone puts so much pressure on them, which is sometimes unfair. But, I thought he could have done better maybe in the first minute, maybe. But, no, then when you get your first goal, he's going to score lots of goals for Liverpool, and the first one's always the hardest, and then hopefully many more to come.
Right, could you have done better?
The first chance, yeah, of course, it should have been a goal. But, I think it's always about, being ready for the next one, which I was, so happy for that.
And how important was it? I know it was only your second start at Liverpool because you haven't had that much of a pre-season at all, and training and everything else, but to get off the mark, because it's a competition, the Carabao Cup, you've certainly got a record in scoring goals in.
Yeah. I think, it was good to get minutes, but of course it's a competitive game, so the main goal is to win, and we got to score goals. So that's my main priority, to help the team with my goals and my game. But it was good to get some more minutes as well, on the way to getting fit.
How far away are you from getting fit? Talk to us about that.
No, I feel good. I feel fit, of course. Obviously, it's still early, new club and new teammates, but I feel good. I think it's a great team to be a part of, and I think with all of the games I get, it's only going to get better.
And a first at half-time to go off and do sprints?
Yeah, that was a new one. I can see it there. It was funny. It was a new experience, but, got to get fit.
You can see the screen behind of what he was made to do. What do you make of that, Andy?
Yeah, obviously a lot's been, he's not had much pre-season, but he's since he's came in fantastic shape. I thought he was excellent against Atletico. Thought he was really good again today, and he looks fit to me. Obviously, the sports scientists maybe think a little bit differently, but yeah, look, that's what we had to do in pre-season, so maybe he's playing catch up while he was.
And just a word, vice captain, leading the team out in this competition. How are you enjoying that role?
Yeah, really good. Obviously had a good chat.
Just trod on his foot.
No, brilliant, yeah, steady. Obviously, proud to be vice captain of this club. Obviously proud when I got it and the manager gave me it, and then it's just about trying to help the team as much as possible. Obviously, today with Virgil getting the night off, then it means that I get to lead them out. So it's always an honour, and especially at home. And like I said, it's an honour to captain them tonight, and thankfully we got a win.
As vice-captain then, can I ask you about Etitike and his sending off and that second booking, the goal celebration, taking his shirt off? What were your thoughts as captain tonight?
Be very surprised if he does it again. Obviously, I think scoring a goal is always emotional, and you always, get that emotion. But he's obviously just forgot that he's probably been booked. These first ones, stupidity, kicking the ball away. We know the rules around that, and then it's 2 silly bookings to pick up, and now obviously we miss him for Saturday. So it's silly from his part, but he's only young and he'll learn from it. And happy that he scored, but then the last 10 minutes it was made a bit more difficult, being down to 10 men. So he'll learn from it, and like I said, I'm sure he won't do it again.
Rest up, enjoy the night. Thank you for talking to us, and good luck for the future.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Cheers.
It's a great interview, that, wasn't it? And sometimes when you have a record signing, particularly who's a striker, so much pressure and so on and so forth. I know he scored tonight and they've won, but everything seems so relaxed, doesn't it?
I think that to me, my interpretation of it is the Arne Slot effect. I think when he took over the Liverpool job last season, you could see immediately the kind of sense of calm. And obviously they've gone from having, a high intense manager in Jurgen Klopp and highly successful period under his tenure there. And then Arne Slot comes in, he sort of calms things down. They end up winning the league. And then obviously massive noise around the summer with Alexander Isak coming in, Ekitike coming in. Got 2 brilliant number 9s there competing for a spot, or whether they change positions or not, we'll see. But I just think that interview there just screamed, the way that Isak came across, it just screamed Arne Slot's presence around him, his guidance, his man management. It's just, to me, it just looks spot on. But
also stuff like Andy Robertson, quite happy to take the mick out of him that he should have scored. Yeah, it's great that he scored, but he should have scored in the first minute. Now, if you're a brand new signing in the
player, because he ended up getting what he wanted, and you can see the way he played tonight. He's a tough guy. He knows what he wants. He's very, he's adamant. He had to get himself out of Newcastle. It wasn't the way everyone wanted it to happen. A lot of people say I didn't think he handled it in the right way, but if he'd not done that, he wouldn't have been playing in a red shirt right now. So he ended up getting what he wanted. So he's obviously an incredibly strong-minded man, and make no mistake, he's going to be an unbelievable signing for him. That's going to be the first of many, many goals in that red shirt.
And yet they didn't have it all their own way. Southampton did create. Liverpool were their own worst enemies with the goal they conceded, weren't they?
Yeah, they're just getting a bit of a mess at the back post. I'm not sure. Endo just finds himself in a bad position. Maybe he gets a shout behind him and could just leave it, but they just get it in a bit of a mess, and they clear the area, and you could just see it's actually not a bad finish. Maybe Dan's had said to him, leave it. He doesn't do that. He just opens up his right foot and just caresses it into the corner, and then you're going, all right, now we're going to probably go to penalties. But Chiesa had things on his mind, and he wasn't going to take that.
Before we get to the winning goal, we'll look at Ekitike's first yellow card, which obviously, contributes to his sending off.
Yeah, and this was probably it was a silly yellow card to start with. you know, again, emotional reaction to that, frustrated, wants to make an impact, came on at half-time, so that's his first yellow card, and then he's playing the rest of the game. The game was quite mellow intensity, you know, Andy Robertson just said there to us that he thought they were very average tonight, and then he gets his goal, and then a moment of madness, but the goal is excellent. Southampton's shape here, they just get caught, a little bit of ball watching, you know, probably one of few times they've caught out of shape defensively on that right-hand side. Clever from Chiesa, because he just sees the space, he darts into it, and his first touch is absolutely exquisite. And there you go, help yourself to a goal, and then that.
Great, look at that touch, delicious. And then just passes it across. Some players might have had a shot, but he's got the presence, the awareness, good team player. And also I want to give a mention to Andy Robertson. But going back to this is just pure brain fog. You know, he's been amazing since he's come to the club, scored goals, started so well. And I feel sorry for him because that's cost him now. He's not going to play against Crystal Palace, and now he'd have to sit, you know...
As Frimpong's telling him at this point, why have you taken your shirt off? You've already been booked.
Completely forgotten. Why he's taking his shirt off to show the crowd as well, I don't know. Is there a message? Is he trying to say something? He doesn't need to... We all know his name. You're a different class, mate. You know, you've been doing so well at the club. You know, you've been... And now his mate Frimpong has said to him, what are you doing, big man?
He's pretending.
And now he's realised.
He's pretending and hoping in that moment the referee's
the ref hasn't spotted it. So he then tries to put his shirt on, and as Arne Slot has it explained to him by his backroom staff, watch the breath here. Deep breath, Arne. Don't shout at him. I'll concentrate on those who are on the field and ignore him as he walks past. I mean, is that the pressure of competition for your place, do you think? Or is that
not really? No, the way that he's playing, he doesn't look like he's under pressure. He's scoring goals every game. He's been brilliant. So, I don't know. Only he knows why he's taken off his shirt, because he knows the rules. He's played the same rules all around the world. He'd been booked. He's just completely forgotten. There's a buzz. He scored. It's just the emotion of what's happened. But it's come at a high price for him, because football's really tough in terms of you only need to be out for one game. If Alexander Isak comes in, scores, he might have to find himself starting off the bench again. You know, whereas he's now, the way that he's been playing, he's made himself the number 9.
It's his 5th goal of the season.
Unbelievable.
His body of work
Unbelievable
is already there.
And the other thing as well is if Slot is going to see them as 2 9s competing for one spot, Alexander Isak is clearly getting fitter, as we've seen. You know, he's got the minutes. Clearly, they designed and planned for him tonight, the 45 and then the little bit of top-up running he did at half-time. So he's clearly in a place where he should be physically, and, you know, sort of sends a message to say to Ekitike, Isak's coming for you. And now Ekitike's just given Isak a free pass to start on Saturday against Palace. Saturday against Palace.
But I don't know if you agree, none of them are going to want to be on the bench. You know, they're too good. They're too good a player. You know, they both look at themselves, and you don't come to Liverpool and score, was it 5 in...
Yeah, 5
5 and 5, 5 and 6, whatever it is. And they make that kind of start, and then all of a sudden think, well, I'm now might be starting because of Alexander Isak. Footballers have number 9s have egos. They want to play, and they're both brilliant players. They're both really good signings, but that competition is going to get fierce.
If you go back 2 or 3 weeks, there would have been people going, they can't keep scoring late goals to get themselves out of it. But they can. And we're now 6 out of their 8 games this season has seen their winning goals coming after the 83rd minute. So they can keep doing it.
They can keep doing it, and they've got the players to do it. They've got the belief to do it. And you saw the way that Southampton played. It was similar to the Burnley game in the Premier League a couple of weeks ago, where Burnley dropped off. They were really compact, you know, defensively, low block, 5-4-1, players behind the ball. It's hard to break down, and teams are starting to do that to Liverpool now, because they see the intensity that they want to play that they can play out. So they're forcing them to slow the play down, to be a little bit more methodical in their build-up play and find the gaps in defence, and that one came at the end. And
the other thing that will please Arne Slot, I'm guessing in all of that, is that it's been 6 different scorers with those late goals. So
Absolutely.
It shows it's not a reliance on one person to always pop up at the death.
No, that's right. And different players popping up, different players making assists as well. And that assist by Chiesa and the confidence that he's now playing with, that's exactly what you need, because this is such a squad game now. You need players that are going to come on 10, 15 minutes, and they're not going to come on sulking. They're maybe going to come on, make a difference, make an assist, get you a goal. And that's what now he brings, because he looked a bit lost when he first came. It must have been really difficult for him, but now he's really finding his form.
OK, plenty.
Will, you said before the game you wanted more bravery, more personality. Did your team show that character that you were looking for tonight?
Yeah, I think we stood up. I think we were, you know, we took a bit of ownership of what we were doing, we put in overall a really good performance. But I think the way we've lost that is also a perfect summary of where we're at in the league as well. I think there are a lot of good bits, and a lot of players have put in a really good performance, but we've shot ourselves in the foot by conceding a really it's just really poor and frustrating because it kind of hides all the good stuff that we had done in the first half. I think we've hit the bar and then missed a pretty easy chance, and they've gone up the other end and not had to do too much to score. So that's it's just where we're at. I think it's what we did on Saturday. It's what we've done in previous weeks as well. So we need to address that sort of elephant in the room syndrome of we need to take those mistakes out of our game. But we reacted really well. I thought second half performance was encouraging. We managed to get back in the game, found a way, and then we've kind of switched off for half a second. And when you've got Chiesa and Ekitike going up the other end, you get punished for it, and that's what's happened. But it's just where we're at. I think it's tough, it's difficult, and it's frustrating. But we need to keep plugging away, keep hitting the nail on the head, and I'm sure we'll click into gear at some point. I'd rather it be sooner than later, but it is what it is.
For all the disappointment and the frustration, it does take time though, doesn't it, with what you're trying to do, and it's no consolation. 38 seconds after you go so close towards the end of the first half, could have scored that opening goal. They go right up at the other end and put it in the back of the net.
Yeah, no, it does take time. It does take time. I think I mentioned it in the week. I've looked at many examples. There's Arsenal's taken time. Liverpool took time when Jurgen took over. Thomas Frank had a bit of time to get it right at Brentford, and eventually did. I think it's just the way football works. I think we've had sort of 3 different squads, like I said, and we're working on finding a balance and trying to get it right. I think tonight's encouraging, even though we've lost. But we there's a high priority of getting rid of those frustrating mistakes.
You seem very honest in what you're saying. Are you feeling the heat then, in a way, when you talk about these names that you've just said about being given time to get it right?
No, I don't think anyone could put more pressure on myself than I do. And I'm just a human being, and I'm desperate to get it right, and I want to get it right, and I'm sure we will. But football is the way it is, and I'm not blind to it. I think we're making progress, and game by game, there's a lot of good things that happen. I think it's just frustrating, and I hate losing, so I'm probably not the best to interview after a loss. But
okay, so how will you feel tomorrow when you've reflected and slept on this performance tonight?
Yeah, frustrated. I think, Julia. I think conceding goals the way we did it just sort of puts a shadow on the good bits. But we've just got to keep going. We've got to stay positive, keep at it. I think supporters again were brilliant. On a Tuesday night in Liverpool, and we need to give them something to cheer about pretty soon. So we're gonna just keep going.
When you talk about that elephant in the room and the mistakes, eradicating those mistakes, that will come as well with time, won't it? And there weren't, for the mistake that you made against Liverpool tonight, you're not going to do that all the time, are you?
Well, I hope not. We've done it too often since the start of the season. But again, it's working out who goes where and who passes where and at what moment and who's ready to receive and who's ready to play. And like you said, it takes a bit of time, and we're getting there. I know it. It sounds probably a bit boring, but we are getting there.
So this team tonight, did that give you food for thought going into the game against Middlesbrough this weekend?
Oh, 100%. I think we said there's always opportunities that come. We've lost at the weekend, and people have stood up and made some really good performances. So I think it's good. We need people to stand up. We need people to sort of take the challenge on and be brave, and that's what we've done tonight. And like I said, we just need to sort of rob out those stupid mistakes and get on with it.
Good luck this weekend.
Cheers.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I think he said in that nobody puts more pressure on him than he puts on himself. And I think you both could see that, or we could all see that in that interview. Did elements of that surprise you?
They did in a certain way. They've just played against arguably the best team in Europe at the moment. And he's speaking, you know, he's a young manager. He's relatively early. He's proven himself in Ligue 1 in France. He's got the job over here in England with the Championship club. You know, clearly a very progressive manager, modern manager,
a young manager,
adaptable,
32.
A young manager, exactly. But yeah, no, I think he's spot on in terms of it will take time. It really will, and I think, you know, you can't. I don't think you can verbally put pressure on yourself. I mean, he's the guy at the helm of the football club, and he's so confident in what he does because he's a young manager and he's taken on a massive job this early on in his coaching career. So he's clearly, you know, confident in himself, believes in himself, and more importantly, believes in the players and the style of football he wants to play. And what I like about him is he's willing to adapt as well. We've seen throughout the season he's played different formations, and I thought for most part of the game today, they were defensively very sound. They stifled one of the best sides in Europe, albeit it wasn't their starting 11, but a lot of fringe players. But still, I thought they had a good account of themselves, and I think 2-1 is a relatively respectable score.
And I suppose that's what I mean by are you both surprised by it? Because I think you were both more high on their performance than it feels like Will was.
He left out 9 players as well. So I thought before the game, I saw that team, they could be in trouble. They could be 4-5-0. You know, I looked at the Liverpool side. I think he can be proud of his team today. I thought they played very well. He talks about individual mistakes and giving away goals, but then that must come a little bit on you because you must ask your goalkeeper to play out from the back. So if you're going to ask to play in that situation, you have to unfortunately take the risk and reward, and they got punished on that occasion. But there were a lot of positives today. You know, I thought the players that come in, I thought they played well. I thought, you know, it gives him a bit of a headache for the weekend. But you're in a pressurised situation. I like Will. He's a good guy. But the thing is, if you don't win football matches, the price on the ticket is you're going to get under pressure. You know, and my advice would be I wouldn't talk too much about it like he did there. I'd almost let other people talk about it because it is going to be getting harder and harder unless he picks up some wins.
But it is fine. I suppose his point as well was it's fine margins and it can be individual errors that have cost them so far this season and that repeated. And within 45 seconds, we saw it at both ends, really, is it?
Yeah, and the frustration from him there in that interview probably comes from this moment here in the game where they could have gone 1-0 up. And that's a really basic finish. And he alluded to himself. He knows that Scienza should finish this. Adam Armstrong goes in on goal, first touch, good across the face of his body, hits the bar, rebound here. That has to go in the back of the net, and then you're 1-0 up, and then you're protecting what you've got 2 minutes before half-time. And then this moment is of a high emotion because they've just missed a massive chance. You're playing against the top team on their home turf at Anfield, and then the game just switches. In 45 seconds, it then goes into this moment here that Liverpool then take the lead just before half-time. Again, state of the release the ball here at this moment. The ball has to go long. Chiesa, he just smells it. He's tenacious. He just teases Isak up for his first goal in a Liverpool shirt, and that's a moment of game management, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree.
That's management. The ball has to go there. You get to half time, you squeeze up the pitch, but they didn't, and that's why Will still is probably frustrated because he said before the game he wanted to enjoy it, he wanted his players to enjoy it, and he's probably frustrated because there's a 1-goal margin between him and arguably one of the best clubs in Europe right now.
Because they'd taken the sting out of that Liverpool attack by winning the ball back and then trying to keep hold of it.
Yeah, they were excellent all game, you know, and I also give him a bit of leeway in the fact they lost really good players in the window. You know, they lost Tyler Dibbling, who we all know is going to be a good player for Everton, and Fernandes. If they were playing this season, they'd have won a lot more games. So he has been, of course, he's been harsh on himself. He wants to do well. He wants to prove himself. He's come over from France. He's put his reputation on the line, if you like. But you do need time. One thing that I always feel at Southampton, I'm not sure, I don't know the owners there now, but it always feels like there's a bit more patience than some clubs. And I think that it would be right to be patient. He deserves that opportunity. But like anything, when football management is precarious, if you don't get results, pressure comes on you. And that's the facts.
Let's find out the thoughts of Arne Slot on his side going through to the fourth round. He's with Jules as well.
Arne, there's a lot to unpack in that game tonight. Where would you like to start?
Now, hopefully with the fact that things are not that worse with Giovanni Leoni, because he played a very good game. Then the way he had to go inside is not a positive thing. And I think where it should also be about is the tribute we gave Matt. So Matt Beard. So that is something where this game probably should be about, to remember him. And for the rest, it wasn't our best game of the season.
What do you put that down to?
Playing a whole new team, players that haven't played for a long time, so these two things normally don't really help. But there were also positives to take from the game. I think Georgi Mamedashvili had a very good game. Giovanni Leone had a very good game before he went off. Alex scored his first goal, Hugo scored a goal, Federico Chiesa was really good. So there were Curtis Jones was back after injury, played a proper game. Great assist by Robbo, so there were also positives to take, but in general it wasn't our best performance, which probably has a lot to do with players that haven't played for a long time or for the first time playing together.
Alex was telling us that he's not far, he feels, off full match fitness. Do you share that opinion of him?
Yes, because he's playing more and more. But it's only, I think, 6 or 7 days ago before he played his first minutes for us. So we're trying to build him up quicker than you normally do a player in pre-season. But that's what we try, to get him as much playing minutes as we can. So yeah, he's available again for next week, where we again play 3 games. So he will make his minutes there as well, and then he goes to the national team of Sweden, where he can make minutes. And I think, yes, he's ready for minutes. Yes, he does well, but to have the best version of him, I think that is maybe after the international break, when he has some rhythm, played more minutes under his belt. That will probably his best. Then we will probably see the best of him.
Hugo Ekitike, his sending off, it was a cheap second yellow card to get. You could see the frustration on your face as he walked past to go down the tunnel. Your captain tonight, Andy Robertson, was saying he won't be doing that again.
No, I'd hope so, but not because it was his second. I think it's also stupid if you haven't had a yellow card yet. Maybe I'm a bit old-fashioned, maybe a bit old school, but I did score a few goals, not at this level, but I did score a few goals as well. And then if I maybe outplayed 3 players, which I never did, and then hit it in the top corner, then maybe you can say, oh, this is all about me. But if I had to score a goal like he did tonight, I would have turned around and walked up to Federico Chiesa and would say, it's all about you, Federico, great assist, great run. And I didn't have to do a lot. But that's maybe me being a bit old school. It was stupid, not smart in every sense. And the good thing was that his teammates helped him, because we could bring the winger over the line. But if the information is correct, he's now suspended for Saturday, and that's far from ideal.
Just going back to Leone, it was such a promising debut. Do you know what the injury is? It looked like to be his shoulder, but can you tell us any more on that?
No, it's not his shoulder. Yeah, we have to wait and see. As always with these things, when a player comes off like this, they do, I don't know the English word for this, but they check him, maybe check him, and then tomorrow we're probably going to scan him, and then we know better what it is. But if a player goes off like this in so much pain, then normally it's not a positive thing.
Thank you, Arne, for your time.
Thank you.
Difficult night for Arne Slot, and you remember Matt Beard again there in that interview. Later on in the chat with Jules, you described him as refreshingly honest as we were
it's nice to hear, isn't
that.
it? Yeah, I think so. He called it absolutely spot on with his centre forward, and he'll be disappointed because he knows if he doesn't need him to start the weekend at a very, very difficult game at Crystal Palace, he certainly needs him to come on and make a difference in the last 20, 30 minutes, whoever he decides to play. So he's given himself a problem, and he'll know that. He'll be disappointed with what he's done. He'll be disappointed for him because he's made such a great start. But
I mean, it was
Yeah.
funny as well, wasn't it? If you blam it in from 25 yards, maybe.
Absolutely
But if,
right. I know,
if you
but from
score
a
and
yard,
tap it from 5 yards, maybe praise the guy
maybe
that
yeah,
set
it
it
didn't
up.
quite warrant that kind of, you know.
It,
and it's not,
it resonates with all the kids that are playing in the playground, though, in that sense, because if they're listening to that, they'll know, and if they score a tap and it's not shirt off worthy.
Yeah.
But if you score a banger, then maybe. But I agree with Jamie. Very, pragmatic, honest, refreshing assessment again from Arne Slot.
Look, they've got a difficult week coming up. Actually, they've got Palace away on Saturday, which is a difficult Premier League game for them. They then have to go to Istanbul and take on Galatasaray, and then next Sunday, which is obviously part of Sky's Super Sunday, you've got Chelsea away. So he now has to take into account Ekitike's red card in how he balances the squad when he's still trying to get minutes in the legs for Isak through those 3 games.
He'll have to, come up with a plan. I'm sure he'll come up with the right solution in terms of how much can Isak play and who's the replacement in that sort of role. Would it be a Chiesa down the middle? Would it be a Gakpo as a sort of a false 9 type role? But he's got the tools, and that's why they built the squad they've got to withstand the demands of those fixtures that you can see on screen. But it's a very tough week, Tuesday, Saturday, Tuesday again, and like Jamie said, a very tough Premier League fixture away at Crystal Palace.
Yeah, I think, Izzy spot on. I think Isak will play the weekend. I could see Ekitike playing at Galatasaray and then probably Isak again at Chelsea, but depending on his fitness. And the last thing you want to do in a situation like this, we could see how carefully they are managing Alexander. That you see what he did at half-time, 45 minutes, then they got his minutes up just with the extra work. They don't want to pick up another injury. They want to make sure they manage him perfectly. So it's just not ideal. And I think that's why he was so disappointed all round. They're probably disappointed for the boy, disappointed for the team, but that's what you have to do, and they certainly won't be doing that again.
And also, and overall on the sort of general picture of Liverpool tonight, that they haven't played much, a lot of these players. They certainly haven't played together, a lot of these players this season as an 11, and that's why maybe they didn't have the rhythm you would expect from a Liverpool team. Yeah,
I think rhythm and intensity at times was missing this evening. Chiesa injected it when he could, especially with the 2 goals and the assists. But I think also Southampton had a part to play in that as well. And like I said earlier, similar to the Burnley game, where they're so deep, it's so hard to break a team down because they're so well coached, so well organised. And I thought Southampton were exactly the same tonight.
I think Neoni's going to be a really good player as well. You could see the centre-backs. First time I've actually watched him live, so much composure. I think, 6'4", he's got everything. So
you could just tell. You could just tell
class,
sometimes,
especially the Italian defenders. He's got that sort of calmness about him. Wants to defend at the right time, comfortable on the ball. I think he's going to be one certainly for the future because Virgil's 33, 34 now, is he? He's still obviously playing at such a high level, but he will be certainly one they'll be looking forward to in a few years.
So that's this evening wrapped up.
Liverpool edge past Southampton in a dramatic Carabao Cup third-round clash at Anfield, with Alexander Isak and Hugo Ekitike on the score sheet, but not without late drama. Let's get into it. Liverpool opened the scoring just before half-time. Federico Chiesa delivered a pinpoint ball into the box and Alexander Isak did the rest, firing home in the 43rd minute. Southampton, though, refused to roll over. On 76 minutes, Shea Charles levelled the tie after being set up by Jimmy J. Morgan Kouachi, giving the travelling fans real hope of an upset. But Liverpool's quality told late on. In the 85th minute, Chiesa again turned provider, this time for Hugo Ekitike, who restored the Reds' lead with a composed finish. However, the drama didn't stop there. Just 1 minute later, Ekitike went from hero to villain, picking up a second yellow card and leaving Liverpool down to 10 men for the final stretch. Despite the setback, Klopp's side held on to secure a 2-1 victory and their place in the next round. So Liverpool survive a scare and move on in the Carabao Cup, but Hugo Ekitike's cameo was certainly eventful. What did you make of Liverpool's performance? Job done, or worrying signs against lower league opposition? Let us know in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe to Sport Lab for more match breakdowns.